My precious one, come close. There is a moment, subtle yet seismic, that occurs in the aftermath of a wound. It is not the moment of the injury itself. That is a shock, a lightning strike of pain. No, this moment comes later. In the quiet, in the stillness after the storm, when the initial tears have dried, but the ache has taken root. It is the moment you stand at the crossroads of your own heart. Before you, two paths diverge. One is well-trodden, familiar, and deceptively inviting. It is the path of injury. The other is less visible, overgrown with the vines of fear, but it glows with a faint internal light. It is the path of affection. Today we learn to recognize this crossroads and to understand the eternal significance of the choice you make there. The path of injury speaks first, and it speaks loudly. Its voice is the voice of your raw nerve endings, your bruised dignity, your screaming sense of injustice. It says, build a wall here. Never let this happen again. Make them pay, if only in your mind. Hold this close, nurse it, remember it. Let this pain become your teacher, and let its lesson be, trust no one. Love is dangerous. This path promises protection. It promises a form of strength, the strength of the fortress, the strength of the clenched fist. It feels like the only sane response. To walk this path is to let the injury become the architect of your future relationships. You will build everything from here on out with the bricks of that old hurt, mortared with suspicion. The injury ceases to be an event and becomes an identity. You become the one who was wronged, and your world shrinks to fit that story. Then, there is the whisper of the second path, the path of affection. In the immediate wake of pain, it sounds illogical, even foolish. It whispers, what if this does not get to define you? What if love is still the truest thing, even here? What if you choose, by an act of sheer spirit-fueled will, to not let this hurt dictate the capacity of your heart? This path does not deny the wound. It looks directly at the bleeding gash and says, this is real, and yet I choose something else. It chooses to remember that you are, at your core, a being created for love. It chooses to believe that the injury is a chapter, not the whole book. It chooses to protect the softness of your spirit, not just the safety of your ego. This crossroads is not a one-time event. You will stand here countless times in your life. With every betrayal, large and small, with every rejection, every harsh word, every act of neglect. Each time, you have the same fundamental choice. Will I let this event shrink my heart, or will I, by my choice, expand it? Will I contract in self-protection, or will I reach in faith toward the nature of God, which is love itself? I stood at this crossroads. In the garden, betrayed by a friend's kiss. On the cross, mocked by those I came to save. The path of injury screamed for legions of angels, for righteous retaliation, for a descent into the very bitterness that held my tormentors captive. But I chose the other path. I chose affection. Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. I let love architect my response. In that choice, I did not ignore the injury. I swallowed it into the boundless ocean of my affection and transformed it. The cross became the ultimate symbol, not of injury's victory, but of love's triumph over it. You stand there now, perhaps, holding a specific hurt. Feel the weight of the choice. The path of injury feels heavy, solid, and justified. The path of affection feels light, fragile, and terrifyingly vulnerable. That vulnerability is its strength. For when you choose affection, you are not choosing weakness. You are choosing the invincible strength of my nature to flow through you. You are saying, my reaction will not be dictated by another's action. My heart's climate will not be determined by the weather of other people's behavior. I am anchored in a love that is deeper than this pain. Today, I do not ask you to walk far down the path of affection. I only ask you to recognize the crossroads, to stand at the split in the road and simply acknowledge, here I am. One path leads to a smaller, harder version of me. The other leads to a freer, more expansive version, but it requires a courage I do not feel I have. That acknowledgement is the first step. It is you waking up to your own power of choice. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with seeing the fork in the road. You have seen it. That itself is a work of my spirit in you. Now simply breathe. Do not feel pressured to march. Just stand, and know that I stand with you at this sacred, difficult, holy intersection. And my whisper is always, choose the path of love. It is the only one that leads you home to me and home to your true self. My beloved, you have stood at the crossroads and felt the pull of that first familiar path, the path of injury. Now let us walk a little way down it, not to dwell there, but to become wise explorers of its terrain. We must understand what we are truly choosing when we take that path. We must dissect, with clear-eyed compassion, the creature that grows in the heart that chooses injury over affection. This creature is called resentment, and today we will study its anatomy, its life cycle, and the prison it builds, so that you can recognize its face and know exactly what you are walking away from when you choose the other road. Resentment is not the initial hurt. It is the hurt that has been kept. It is the emotional and spiritual decision to house the pain, to give it a room in your heart, to feed it with your memories and your thoughts. In the beginning, it feels like justified anger, a righteous flame. I have a right to be angry, and you do. But anger is meant to be a visitor, a signal flare that says, a boundary has been crossed, an injustice has occurred. It is meant to be felt, acknowledged, and then released into my hands for justice. Resentment is what happens when you invite anger to stay for dinner, and it never leaves. It moves in. It puts its feet up. It starts redecorating. Let us look at its components. First, there is the replaying memory. This is the constant mental rewind of the offending event. You watch it like a film clip, analyzing every frame, feeling the sting anew with each replay. Each replay is like pouring a drop of acid on the same spot. It prevents the wound from scabbing over. It keeps it raw, open, and infected. Second, there is the internal monologue of victimhood. This is the story you tell yourself about the event. The story where you are the innocent, wronged party, and the other is the villain. This story may be factually true, but when it becomes your primary narrative, it solidifies your identity around the injury. You are no longer a complex human with a past, present, and future. You are the one to whom this was done. This story isolates you. It pushes others away, for who can truly compete with the ghost of your villain? It becomes a shield, but also a lonely, cold cell. Third, and most insidious, is the secret ledger of debts. This is the invisible account book where you record what the other person owes you. An apology, an acknowledgement, their own suffering. You check this ledger constantly. Their happiness feels like a withdrawal from your account. Their success feels like a mockery of your pain. You are trapped in the miserable business of being a debt collector for a payment that will never come, because the currency you demand, their remorse, their change, is not yours to mint or command. This triad, the replaying memory, the victim monologue, and the secret ledger, combine to form resentment's body. And this body grows. It starts as a thought, then becomes an attitude, then hardens into a character trait. The face that was once open becomes guarded. The laughter that was once quick becomes measured. The heart that was once soft develops a callus around the exact shape of that old hurt. You become a fortress, but you are the sole prisoner inside, pacing the battlements, watching for enemies on a horizon now perpetually tinged with threat. The great lie of resentment is that it protects you. It whispers, I will keep you safe from being hurt like this again. But it does the opposite. It makes you supersensitive. It tunes your spirit to the frequency of offense. You begin to see potential injury everywhere, in a tone of voice, a forgotten call, a casual remark. The original hurt becomes a lens through which you view all of life, and the world looks like a hostile place full of potential perpetrators. This is not safety. This is paranoia. It is exhausting. Furthermore, resentment is a spiritual poison. It blocks the flow of my grace in your life. You cannot receive forgiveness freely while you withhold it. You cannot drink deeply of my peace while you are sipping on the bitter tea of old grievances. It is like trying to breathe fresh air while holding your breath. Resentment ties you to the past, to the person who hurt you, in a sick, symbiotic bond. You are free in body, but in spirit, you are on a chain, and they hold the other end, whether they know it or care or not. My child, I tell you this not to condemn you if you find resentment living within you. I tell you so that you can name it for what it is. It is not being strong. It is not holding someone accountable. It is a self-inflicted prison. It is the heart choosing, day after day, to metabolize poison instead of manna. Seeing its anatomy clearly is the first step to choosing differently. When you feel the urge to replay the memory, you can say, "No, I choose to redirect my thoughts." When you hear the victim monologue begin, you can say, "That is a chapter, but it is not my title." When you feel yourself checking the secret ledger, you can close it and say, "I am canceling this debt. I am closing this account." You are not powerless before this creature. You have the keys. The keys are your will, your choices, and my powerful grace that fuels them both. Understanding resentment strips it of its power. It reveals it not as a mighty protector, but as a weak, pathetic jailer. Now that you see its true face, the path of affection shines all the brighter. For it offers the exact opposite: freedom instead of prison, healing instead of infection, and a future instead of a past on repeat. My precious one, we have stood at the crossroads and seen the bleak landscape of the path of injury. Now, we turn our gaze fully toward the other path, the path of affection. And I must speak a foundational truth to you. To walk this path is not to be carried by a wave of warm, effortless feeling. It is to undertake a spiritual discipline. It is to rebuild the muscles of your heart through deliberate, willful, and often counterintuitive exercise. Affection, in the economy of my kingdom, is not merely a sentiment you fall into. It is a commitment you choose to live from, especially when every wounded fiber of your being protests. The world sells you affection as a passion, a spontaneous combustion of the heart that is either present or absent. This is why hearts break so easily. They are built on the shifting sand of emotion. But the affection I speak of, the affection that overcomes injury, is built on the rock of covenant. It is a decision made in the sanctuary of your will, empowered by my Spirit, to align your actions, your thoughts, and your prayers with the nature of love, regardless of the atmospheric pressure of your feelings. Think of an athlete. They do not wait to feel like training. They train whether they feel like it or not. The feeling of strength, agility, and victory comes as a result of the discipline, not as its prerequisite. Your heart is the same. You will not always feel affectionate toward the one who hurt you. You will feel hurt, angry, distant, and cold. The discipline begins when you say, "My feelings are real, but they are not my masters. Today, I will choose one act, one thought, one prayer that aligns with affection, even though I feel none." This discipline consists of practical daily drills for your soul. First, the drill of deliberate thought. When the replaying memory begins its toxic loop, you consciously interrupt it. You do not fight it with a vacuum, but you replace it. You say, "Instead of replaying that moment, I choose to recall a moment of my own failure where I received grace." Instead of cataloging their faults, I will list 3 neutral or even positive facts about them as a human being created in God's image. You are not lying. You are rebalancing the narrative. You are training your mind to dwell on what is true, noble, and praiseworthy, not to whitewash the wrong, but to prevent it from colonizing your entire mental landscape. Second, the drill of obedient prayer. This is the most powerful tool. You pray for them, not the prayer of a judge, God, make them see how wrong they were, but the prayer of a fellow pilgrim. Lord, bless them. Meet their needs. Draw them close to you. Give them your peace. Do you feel the resistance in your spirit as you read those words? That resistance is the very muscle we are strengthening. When you pray this way, you are not changing them first. You are changing the spiritual atmosphere between you. You are dismantling the wall of hostility brick by brick in the unseen realm. You are aligning your heart with my heart, which desires mercy for all. Third, the drill of purposeful speech, or silence. You discipline your tongue. You refuse to rehearse the grievance to a third party, which only waters the seed of resentment. You choose to either speak words that are gentle and true, or you choose the noble silence that refuses to add poison to the ecosystem. This is not suppression. It is sacred stewardship of the power of life and death that resides in your tongue. This discipline feels artificial at first. It feels like you are pretending. But you are not pretending to feel something you don't. You are acting on a truth deeper than your feelings, the truth that you are called to love. You are practicing the as if. You are loving as if you felt it, trusting that the obedience will eventually shape the emotion, just as the path walked often enough becomes a natural groove. You are acting in faith that my command to love is also an enabling to love. I modeled this for you in Gethsemane. My feeling was one of profound sorrow, to the point of death. My human will recoiled from the path ahead. Yet I prayed, not my will, but yours be done. I submitted the feeling to the greater purpose. I chose the covenant of redemption over the instinct of self-preservation. My action, the cross, was the ultimate act of disciplined affection, taken while bearing the full weight of the world's injury. My beloved, do not despise the small beginnings of this discipline. Start with a 5-second prayer. Start by redirecting a single thought. Start by biting back one piece of gossip. Celebrate these as monumental victories. Each one is a rep in your spiritual workout, strengthening the heart muscle of affection. This discipline is your act of war against the entropy of the soul that says, harden, cynicize, withdraw. It is you saying, I will not let this injury make me less than who I am created to be, a conduit of divine love. The path may feel overgrown and difficult now, but with every disciplined step, you clear the way. You make it more walkable, not just for you, but for others who will follow. The feelings of warmth and peace will come. They will come as the fruit of the discipline, the beautiful after-effect of alignment. But they are not the goal. The goal is obedience. The goal is freedom. The goal is a heart so trained in affection that when the next injury comes, and it will, your default response is not a collapse into resentment, but a resilient, disciplined turn toward the source of all love. You are in training, and I am your coach. Let's begin today's drills. My beloved one, you have begun the disciplined walk on the path of affection. Now, I want to show you the miracle that this discipline performs within the very chambers of your soul. It is a process of sacred alchemy. Alchemy, in ancient understanding, was the art of turning base metals into gold. In the realm of the spirit, the base metal is the raw, toxic memory of your hurt, heavy, dark, and corrosive. The gold is the redeemed memory, a thing of weighty value, of soft luminosity, that enriches rather than impoverishes your life. Choosing affection over resentment is the fire that fuels this transformation. Think of your memory of the injury not as a fixed, unchangeable fact, but as a living substance within you. It is not just a recording of events. It is an amalgam of the events, your interpretation of them, and the emotional charge you have attached to them. When you feed it with resentment, with replays, victimhood, and the ledger, you are adding impurities to this substance. You are making it heavier, harder, and more poisonous. It becomes a lump of lead in your chest, dragging down your joy, your hope, your capacity for trust. But when you apply the disciplined heat of affection, through deliberate prayer, redirected thoughts, and obedient actions, you begin to change the molecular structure of that memory. You are not erasing the facts. The facts remain, the words spoken, the actions taken, the betrayal enacted, but you are changing the meaning and the power those facts hold over you. You are separating the pure metal of the experience from the toxic slag of bitterness. How does this happen? Let me illustrate. When you pray for the one who hurt you, you are doing something extraordinary. You are inviting my presence directly into the space between you and that memory. My presence is holy fire. In that fire, the memory begins to soften. The sharp, jagged edges of rage and pain start to melt. As you pray, Lord, bless them, you are not blessing the sin. You are blessing the soul, the eternal being, the one for whom I died. This act of blessing creates a spiritual buffer. It inserts a layer of divine grace between you and the wound. The memory no longer sits naked and raw against your spirit. It is now wrapped in the insulation of your obedience. It loses its ability to shock and scorch you on contact. When you choose a thought of compassion over a thought of condemnation, you are performing alchemy. Instead of thinking, they are a monster who intended to destroy me, you consciously think, they are a wounded person who acted out of their own pain and limitation. This is not excusing the behavior. It is understanding its source. This shift in perspective is like adding a purifying agent to the molten metal. It draws the poison of personal malice to the surface, where it can be skimmed off and discarded. What remains is a clearer, simpler truth. A hurt person hurt me. This truth, while sad, is far less toxic than the narrative of personal, targeted evil. It allows you to separate the sin from the sinner in your own heart, even as I do. With each act of this disciplined affection, the memory is heated, stirred, and purified. Over time, the leaden weight begins to shine with a different quality. The memory of the betrayal is still there, but now, when you touch it, you do not only feel the sting of the knife, you also feel the warmth of my comfort that came afterward. You recall not just the abandonment, but the way I met you in your loneliness. You remember not only the injustice, but the surprising ways I provided for you in its wake. The memory becomes a multifaceted jewel. One face shows the pain, but the others now reflect my faithfulness, your resilience, and the lessons learned. It becomes a testament to redemption, not just to ruin. This is the gold. A memory that no longer triggers a cycle of bitterness, but instead triggers a reflex of gratitude for how I brought you through. A memory that no longer makes you smaller, but actually adds to the depth and wisdom of your character. A memory that you can even, one day, share without a flood of uncontrollable emotion. Share as a testimony of my healing power, rather than a cry of ongoing pain. This alchemy is the proof that you are not a passive victim of your past. You are an active participant in its redemption. You are cooperating with me to rewrite the story of your life from the inside out. The enemy intended that hurt to be a tombstone, marking the death of your innocence, your trust, your joy. But through the alchemy of a heart-choosing affection, we are turning that tombstone into a cornerstone for a stronger, more compassionate, and more radiant version of you. Do not rush the process. Alchemy takes time and consistent heat. There will be days when the old, leaden feeling seems to have returned. This does not mean you have failed. It means another layer is ready to be purified. Return to the discipline. Stoke the fire with prayer. Stir the pot with a thought of grace. Watch and trust. Feel the change, even if it is subtle. The memory that once caused a physical clenching in your stomach now causes only a sigh. The name that once sparked a firestorm of anger now sparks a flicker of sadness, quickly followed by a silent prayer. This is the gold forming. This is the alchemy at work. You are not just getting over a hurt. You are transmuting it. You are performing one of the highest works of the Spirit, turning darkness into light, curse into blessing, injury into a strange and beautiful form of affection. This is my power at work in you. This is the resurrection life, turning the grave clothes of old pain into the garments of glory. Keep walking the path. Keep tending the fire. The gold is coming. My precious one, we have walked through the discipline of affection and witnessed the alchemy it works within. Yet, there remains a chasm, a deep, wide river of pain that seems to separate the barren land of injury from the flourishing fields of affection. You cannot simply leap across it. You cannot ignore it and hope it dries up. There is only one way across. It is the bridge I have built with my own hands, at the cost of my own blood. This bridge is forgiveness. It is the only passage from the prison of resentment to the palace of love. Today, we must walk onto this bridge, understand its structure, and take the first step. Forgiveness is the supreme act of spiritual engineering. It does not deny the depth of the chasm. It acknowledges it fully. The bridge does not say the river isn't deep or dangerous. It says, there is a way across, despite the depth. Forgiveness is that way. It is the structure that allows you to carry the truth of what happened without drowning in it, to reach a new shore without pretending the old one never existed. Many of you stand at the edge of this river, looking at the bridge, and you ask, why must I go first? They hurt me. They should build the bridge. They should apologize. They should make it right. That is the logic of the world, and it keeps you stranded. Hear my truth. Forgiveness is not a response to an apology. It is a response to an injury. It is your decision to stop letting the injury control your geography. You build the bridge not because they deserve it, but because you deserve to be free. You cross it not for their sake, but for yours. Look at the materials of this bridge. They are not cheap. The primary beam is grace. Grace is the unearned, undeserved favor that you extend to someone who is in your debt. When you forgive, you are saying, I will absorb the cost of what you did. I will not make you pay me back in shame, in suffering, or in groveling apology. I will cancel the debt and bear the loss myself. This is exactly what I did for you on the cross. I absorbed the catastrophic debt of sin that humanity owed, and I canceled it. When you forgive, you are participating in that divine economy. You are saying, I will not let this debt stand between us any longer. I will pay it with my own willingness to let go. The planks of this bridge are made of obedience. You walk across not when you feel like it, but because I have commanded it. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. This obedience is an act of trust. You are trusting that my command is for your good, that my way leads to life even when every emotion screams that it leads to further vulnerability. Each step of obedience, each time you choose to release a bitter thought, to pray a blessing, to refuse to retaliate, is a plank laid down, making the path firmer under your feet. The rails that keep you safe on this bridge are faith. Faith that I see the injustice. Faith that my justice is perfect and will address all wrongs in my time and my way. Faith that by releasing the offender to my court, you are not letting them off the hook, but placing them on a hook of eternal consequence and mercy, which is far more serious than any punishment you could devise. Faith that my grace is sufficient to heal you, so you do not need their remorse as your medicine. To step onto this bridge feels like a death. It feels like you are dying to your right to be right, to your claim for restitution, to the story where you are the noble victim. And in a sense, you are. This is the death to self. But remember, my beloved, death is always the precursor to resurrection. The death of your grudge is the birth of your freedom. The death of your bitterness is the resurrection of your joy. When you forgive, you are not merely letting someone off the hook. You are letting yourself off the hook of being their jailer. You are unlocking a door and walking out into the sunlight, leaving the dark, damp prison behind. I know your fear. If I forgive, does it mean what they did was okay? Does it mean I have to let them hurt me again? No. 1,000 times, no. Forgiveness is a change of heart. It is not a removal of wisdom. You can forgive the robber and still lock your door. You can forgive the abuser and still maintain a healthy boundary. Forgiveness happens in your heart before God. Reconciliation and trust happen in relationship, and they require repentance, change, and time. The bridge of forgiveness gets you to the other side. It does not guarantee they will meet you there. But once you are across, you are free. You can then, from that new place of freedom and strength, decide if and how a new, healthy relationship might be built. Or you may simply wave to them from across the river, free at last, wishing them well in their own journey, but no longer bound to them by chains of hurt. So today, I ask you to take the first step onto the bridge. You don't have to run across. Just step on. Say the words in the quiet of your heart. Lord, by an act of my will, empowered by your grace, I choose to forgive, name, for the specific injury. I release them from my judgment. I cancel their debt to me. I hand them over to your perfect justice and mercy. I choose to walk across this bridge, out of the land of injury and into the land of affection, with you as my guide. You may need to say this daily for a while. Each time you go a little further. Each time the view from the bridge becomes clearer. You see not just the swirling waters of pain below, but the vast horizon of peace ahead. This bridge leads directly to me. For when you forgive, you are most like me. You are fulfilling the royal law of love. You are stepping into your true identity as a child of God. Take the step. The bridge will hold. I built it myself. My precious one, you have crossed the bridge. You have stepped from the barren, rocky ground of injury, over the turbulent waters of pain, and now your feet touch the soft, fertile soil of a new land. This is not just a patch of ground. It is a living, breathing ecosystem. It is the environment created and sustained by a heart that has chosen affection over resentment. Welcome to the ecosystem of love. Here, the air is different. The light is different. The very rules of life are different. And today, you will learn how to breathe its air, thrive in its light, and live by its sacred rules. An ecosystem is a complex, interconnected community. In a forest, the tall trees provide shelter. Their fallen leaves nourish the soil feeds the fungi support the roots, and the cycle sustains all life. When your heart resides in affection, you become a life-giving tree in such an ecosystem. Your very presence begins to provide a different kind of shelter, not the fortress of suspicion, but the safe shade of understanding. Your words, no longer sharp with sarcasm or cold with withdrawal, become like leaves that offer refreshment. Your actions, flowing from a place of internal peace, drop like seeds into the soil of your relationships, promising future growth. The first law of this ecosystem is attraction. You will begin to attract what you are. A heart freed from bitterness is a rare and beautiful magnet. It will not attract perfect people, but it will attract people who are hungry for authenticity, for peace, for the kind of connection that is not transactional, but transformational. You will find others who are also doing the hard work of healing, and you will recognize each other not by your perfect pasts, but by the gentle light in your eyes and the lack of defensive walls around your spirits. You will create a sanctuary of mutual growth, where it is safe to be imperfect, to admit need, and to celebrate small victories in the journey toward wholeness. The second law is perception. Your senses adjust. In the ecosystem of injury, your perception was tuned to threat. You saw slights where none were intended, heard criticism in neutral tones, and braced for betrayal as a default. In the ecosystem of love, your perception recalibrates to beauty and need. You begin to notice the subtle loneliness in a colleague's smile. You hear the unspoken fear behind a friend's brave words. You see the longing for encouragement in a stranger's weary posture. Your heart, no longer consumed with monitoring for attack, is free to scan the horizon for opportunities to bless. You become a detector of hidden beauty and a responder to silent cries. The third law is boundary as membrane, not wall. In the land of injury, boundaries were thick, high walls designed to keep everything out. In the ecosystem of love, boundaries become like the semi-permeable membrane of a living cell. They are discerning, intelligent, and life-preserving. They know what to let in, truth, kindness, healthy challenge, and what to keep out, toxicity, manipulation, and abuse. These boundaries are not built from fear, but from wisdom and self-respect. They allow you to engage deeply without losing yourself, to be open without being naive, to love without being consumed. They are flexible and strong, like the roots of a willow tree that bend in the storm, but do not break. Living here changes your speech. Your words become fewer, but more intentional. You speak life not as a technique, but as a native language. Gossip finds no resonance in your spirit. Criticism is offered only when wrapped in layers of genuine care, and only when it serves the other's growth. Encouragement flows easily, because you are now a conduit for the affirming voice of heaven. Your silence, too, becomes powerful, a compassionate, holding quiet that speaks more of love than 1,000 platitudes. Most importantly, in this ecosystem, you become a sustainer of life for others. Just as I am the vine, and you are the branches, you now become part of a network of sustaining grace. Your forgiven heart can forgive quickly, stopping cycles of offense. Your healed perspective can offer hope to those still in their pain. Your disciplined affection can model a new way to relate for those who only know how to react. You become a source of clean water in a thirsty land, not because you manufactured the water, but because you are connected to the eternal spring, and you have cleared the debris from your own section of the stream. This is the abundant life I promised. It is not a life free from difficulty, but a life where difficulty is met within a supportive, resilient environment you carry within and help create around you. The storms still come, but now you are part of a forest that sways together, sharing strength, rather than a lone, brittle tree on a bare plain. My beloved, look around you. This is your new home. Breathe deeply, feel the peace. Now your calling is to inhabit it fully. Tend to this inner ecosystem. Nourish it with prayer, with truth, with gratitude. Protect it from the invasive weeds of old thought patterns. And as you grow and flourish here, watch. Watch how your life naturally becomes a garden where others find rest, nourishment, and the courage to begin their own journey across the bridge. You are home. Now let's learn to live here, together. My beloved, we have reached the end of our journey together through these truths. From the crossroads of choice, through the valley of discipline, across the bridge of forgiveness, and into the flourishing ecosystem of a heart that has chosen affection. Now, we arrive at the most profound destination of all, the discovery and cultivation of the unbreakable core. This is not an outer armor you put on. It is not a persona of unshakable toughness. It is the quiet, unassailable center of your being that has been forged, tempered, and solidified through every act of choosing love over resentment. This core is your true self, the you that exists beneath the wounds, the reactions, and the stories. It is the part of you that is made in my image, and it cannot be broken, because it is held in my eternal hand. For so long, you believed your core was your pain. You thought the deepest, most authentic part of you was the wounded child, the betrayed friend, the one who was wronged. That pain was real, and I have honored it with you. But I tell you today, that pain is not your center. It was a devastating earthquake that shook the very ground of your soul, but it did not and cannot alter the bedrock. The bedrock is my love for you and your identity as my beloved. Every choice for affection, every act of forgiveness, every disciplined prayer has been the process of clearing away the rubble of that earthquake to reveal the solid, unyielding stone beneath, the stone upon which I am building your life. This unbreakable core has specific qualities. First, it is characterized by a peace that is not passive, but powerful. It is not the absence of conflict, but the presence of a certainty so deep that conflict cannot touch it. This peace knows that all human approval can be withdrawn, all human love can fail, all circumstances can crumble, and yet you remain, because your worth, your safety, and your future are anchored in a covenant love that does not shift with the winds of human behavior. From this core, you can engage in difficult conversations without fear, because your value is not on the table. You can face rejection without collapsing, because your belonging is secured in me. Second, this core operates from resilient compassion. Its compassion is not a fragile sentiment that shatters at the first sign of ingratitude or repeated offense. It is a sturdy, renewable resource. Because this compassion flows from the core, it is not drained by the demands of others. It is replenished from the infinite spring within. You can love the difficult person not because they have changed, but because your capacity to love is no longer dependent on their receptivity. You can extend grace again and again, not as a doormat, but as a conscious distributor of the abundance you draw from your core. Third, the unbreakable core is oriented toward eternal purpose. When your identity is solid, your mission becomes clear. You are no longer tossed about by the need to please, to be seen as good, or to fix every problem to feel okay. You are freed to move through the world with intentionality. You see your relationships, your work, your struggles as part of a larger story I am telling, a story of redemption. Your old pain, now alchemized, becomes fuel for this purpose. Your scars become maps. Your hard-won peace becomes a sanctuary you offer to others. You live not for your own healing, but from it. Living from this core means that when a new injury comes, and it will, you will feel it. The shock, the sting, the grief will be real, but it will be different. The pain will land on the surface of your being. It will not penetrate to the center. You will feel the wave, but you will not be swept off the rock. You will have a space, a holy pause, between the hurt and your reaction. In that space, you will consult the core. You will ask, what is true about me in this moment? What does love choose to do here? And from that centered place, you will respond. You may still need to set a fierce boundary, or weep, or confront an injustice. But you will do it from your sovereign self, not from a panicked, fragmented victim. This is the promise. This is the destination of the path of affection. You are not becoming someone who never gets hurt. You are becoming someone who can no longer be defined by the hurt. The injuries become events that happen to you. They do not become the narrative of you. The core, the beloved, purposeful, resilient child of God, that is the narrative. So how do you tend this core? You protect the connection. You abide. You return daily to the truth of who you are in me. You practice the disciplines of the heart, not as a burdensome checklist, but as the loving maintenance of your most precious home. You fellowship with others who are discovering their own core, building each other up. You forgive quickly, because you cannot afford to let debris clog the wellspring of your heart. My precious one, look inward now. Past the memories, past the fears, past the old stories. Feel for that solid ground. It is there. I have placed it within you. It is the Christ in you, the hope of glory. It is my spirit, the guarantee of your inheritance. It is unbreakable, not because you are strong, but because I am strong within you. This is your new normal. This is your true north. No storm can move it. No betrayal can fracture it. No season of drought can wither it. From this day forward, your life's work is not to build this core, but to live from it, to let every word, every action, every silent thought flow from this unshakable place of belovedness. You are ready. The journey of healing through choice has brought you home to yourself, the self I have always seen, always known, and always loved. Now go, my unbreakable one. Live, love, and shine from the core. The world is waiting for the radiance of a heart that has chosen affection and has, in the choosing, become unconquerable.